on brands in a digital world.
Thank you. Where do I point my slides? Who's working the slides? He's running the slides? Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Nexbrands, and thank you, Chandrika, for inviting me here today to speak about a very simple topic, which is brands in a digital world. You'll be absolutely amazed in terms of the transformation which is happening out there in a digital world. But I'll engage with you in terms of judging for yourself what some of the content which is being put out there, whether it makes sense or not. So first point I want to make to you is that the brand principles are the same whether you are in a physical world or a digital world or an omni-channel world. The brand principles are the same. The frequency or the pace at which life happens is significantly faster in a digital world. And in a digital world, consumers are far more impatient compared to a physical world. Far more impatient. Remember that. Now, almost every sector can go digital. For example, of the $4.5 trillion chemical industry, $1.3 trillion is traded via e-commerce, via 64 platforms. So if chemicals can be traded, anything can be traded is my point of view. Next, digital allows you 365 ideas. Almost every day, we used to call it topical marketing 10 years ago when the digital era was not there. Today we call it moment marketing. The jargon has changed. But technically, a brand has 365 avenues. If there's an event which is happening today, we can talk about it tomorrow morning and we can put some content around it as a brand and put it out there to see whether consumers like it or not. So digital is actually a 365-day phenomenon. Whether it works or not is what I'm going to cover with you next. Let's take what happened 10 days ago. What are the biggest event which we had? Chandrayaan. Okay, now I seek your indulgence. I'm going to show you about 15 ads. I want you to tell me whether this ad resonates with you. They were all over digital media. So this is Lays. How many of you think it's a good ad?
No.
Not one in the room. Interesting. It had just 7,000 likes. Clearly not a good ad. Let's look at this. McDonald's. How many of you think it's a good ad?
No.
None in the room. Or even one in the room? No. And it had 5,400 likes. That's it. Next. This is Shadi.com. How many of you think it's a good ad? It had just 138 likes. Not even worth the time the team has put together on this. Not even worth the time. Next. Let's look at this. Okay. This one I don't have the data for it. Okay, they had 3-4 ads. Amul, always topical, and I'm sure that a lot of you would like this. Let's look at the next one. Happy Dent. How many of you think this is a good ad? One, I see that there, very good. 2, 3 people think it's a good ad. It had 4,829 likes. Okay, and it had 97 comments. Let's look at the next one. Uber. Congratulations, Isro, on successfully completing a 5-star trip. How many of you think it's a good ad? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it had 2,633 likes. Next, let's look at our friends here. How many of you think this is a good ad? Anybody? Anybody out there? None whatsoever. It had 6,166 likes. This is Start a Click. Next, how many of you think this is a good ad? Both. Anybody? None. It had 3,414 likes. That's it. Let's go. Bisleri, I don't have data on this. It says you quench our thirst. Okay. Chandrayaan, Book My Show. How many of you think it's a good ad? Anybody? 1, 2, 3. 2,216 likes. Let's look at this. Swiggy. How many of you think it's a good ad? 1, 2, 3, right at the console. 355 likes, 7 comments. This is Coke. How many of you think this is a good ad? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,755 likes. This is Kurkure. How many of you think this is a good ad? Look at this. Feeling moonstruck with 1.4. They see proud and at on the moon. How many of you think this is a good ad? 173 likes. This is force fitting, right? Let's look at this. Pepsi. India's time to rise is here. We all rise up today. How many think it's a good ad? None in the room. 2. 651 likes. Let's look at Mountain Dew. Congratulations to us for achieving stellar greatness. How many of you think it's a good ad? 1. 450 likes. 7-Up. Simply mooning over this refreshing achievement. How many of you think it's a good ad? None in the room. 130 likes. Next, look at this. Reliance. ISRO will love you to the moon and back. Congratulations on an out-of-the-world achievement. How many of you think it's a good ad? None. 89 likes. Let's look at this. Brookfield Properties. Brookfield Properties congratulates ISRO for the giant leap forward in India's space prowess. Here's to the cosmic feat Chandrayaan. Now that we've reached the moon, let's create extraordinary spaces. How many of you think it's a good ad? None. You're laughing at it. Even better. 165. Okay. So my point is, just look at this thing called moment marketing. And a number of your agencies, a number of your brand managers are possibly fooling you. The time spent on a lot of this is not worth whatever you're spending on. This is supposedly India's biggest movement in the last 3-4 years. If this is the level of creativity at which some of you were not that enthused and the consumer response is so poor, why do we do this? The fact is, because people will come and tell you, it's very cheap, we need to do it tomorrow morning, that's not the reason to do it. The principle of, will my brand get better recognition? Will the attachment of this communication with my brand happen in a better way is the question you need to ask. Don't let people just run all kinds of trash advertising, which is what we saw. Half of the stuff we saw was really bad. Okay? And I have no bias. I just picked it from the net and I just put it before you for your consideration. If you put out and the best score is 6,000 or 7,000 likes, is it worth it? Whatever you're doing? You're not shaking, you're not switching the needle even one bit. So, in all digital brands, I call them D2C brands, which is discovery to consumption. The digital world allows you to discover a lot many brands compared to the past. So that discovery journey is very important. In whichever category you're in. You could be selling steel as Kamdenu, you could be selling sugar drinks, you could be selling chips, you could be selling shampoo, you could be selling soaps. The discovery for the consumer is a very important process. How do you get consumers to discover you in a digital world? And how do you get consumers to consume more of you in a digital world? Because consumption, the depth of consumption in a category defines a big brand vis-a-vis a small brand. So if you have a brand called Lux against a brand called Nirma, Lux might be used by its consumers and Lux might be consumed, let's say, 1,000 grams a year. Nirma might be consumed 500 grams a year. It's the depth of consumption which makes the difference between a big brand and a small brand. That doesn't change in a digital world too. Next, in digital what we discover? One is discovery, second is education. Service, is there a service element to it? You should almost certainly do it. And then there's delivery element to it. Let's take education. For example, a very big part of dressing up is, how do I need to dress up? What type of tie do I need to wear? How do I tie my knot? Okay, what kind of a belt do I wear? People want a lot of education in mixing and matching their clothes. That's a big business in itself. You take beauty or cosmetics. In the pandemic, it was in the top 3 cosmetics consistently across the world. Almost everybody wanted to know how to apply an eyeliner, a shadow, a this, a that, etc. So in the cosmetics business, that's why you have a hell of a lot of influencers in cosmetics business trying to teach you or educate you in terms of what you need to do. Service. Once you've sold the product, is there a service delivery possible is a question you need to ask. If you can do that, by all means, you can actually make money off it. For example, even a company like Bosch. Bosch sells something, but they're actually doing car service in many parts of the country. That's a service business. Okay? You can do that also. And finally is delivery. Whether it's a commodity, whether it's a branded stuff, you can deliver it. And if you can deliver it digitally, like OTT, fantastic. Okay, so I don't need to go to the theater anymore. So the physicality of the theater competes with the delivery of the OTT network for me to have entertainment. So these are the places where we are seeing a lot of disruption in a digital branded world. The one thing which is unique about the digital ecosystem is that price is public. You don't need to go to 10 shops to discover what the price is. In the past, you'd go to one shop and say the price is 10 bucks, in the other place is 11 bucks. Today, you don't need to go anywhere. Price is public in a digital world. You just type in the article, ask for the best price across all platforms, price is public. So, price fighters are no longer a big news in a particular channel or a particular outlet. Next, in today's world, it is not a brand versus brand in the digital world. It's an ecosystem versus the ecosystem. One ecosystem competes with the other ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, it's the business models which compete with each other. It is not brand versus brand. It's ecosystem versus ecosystem. The business model in the ecosystem fights with the other business model. Okay, that's what you need to think about. Education is a great example. There is a physicality to education. There is a digital way to educate sitting at home. There is a hybrid way. There are 3-4 business models which work. And the outcome in education is one business model which says, you come and take a skill course with us, we guarantee you a job somewhere. Okay? It's business models which fight in the education ecosystem. It's not brand versus brand. It's not one institute fighting the other institute. Okay? And my last slide before I wind up. Digital allowed us in the original days to aggregate something. Digital today allows us to disaggregate something. ONDC is a great example. Platforms, you order something on a platform, they decide who is the bank you're banking with or will pay, they decide who's the delivery agent, etc. In the case of ONDC, which is already big, it has already 65,000 sellers on their platform, you can choose the product, you can choose the BNPL mode, you can choose the delivery agent. It's completely disaggregated. When Uber and other ride-sharing services came in, we said they aggregated something. Today in Bombay, you have a service called drivers on hire. So you have a car, you don't want to drive for some reason, you hire a driver for 200 bucks an hour or 150 bucks an hour. That's the ultimate disaggregation. Okay, imagine the driver doesn't need to come to you with a car, which is what Uber was doing, or any taxi was doing. Now you bring the driver to your car, use him the way you want, and send him back. That's ultimate disaggregation. Almost everything will get disaggregated in a digital world. And my final comment, middlemen. Middlemen will die mercilessly in a digital world. Any middleman who adds no value will die. Some of you are shaking your head. Let me give you examples. Number one, the music seller is dead. There are 1 or 2 music shops in every city now. Over. Why? The music seller knows nothing. He adds no value to you. Second, the bookseller is dead. There are 1 or 2 bookshops. The guy who's selling the books does not know anything about the books. 3, the travel agent is dead. He knows nothing. He's just booking tickets for you. Similarly, a teacher who does not teach well will be dead. So every single middleman who adds no value in the chain, in the ecosystem, will die a merciless death. So digital will force everybody in the value chain to get better and better. So one last thing in a digital world, which we are recognizing, which is very new, is how to apologize. In a physical world, no company, no CEO apologized. But in a digital world, you're forced to apologize. When something goes wrong, you're forced to say, I'm sorry, hands up, will not do it again. This is a new thing which is happening between brands and consumers. Never happened before. It's happening right now. Some cases, you don't want to apologize, but you want to acknowledge. I call it the acknowledging. Okay, acknowledging, that's it. You say, yes, I know it's happened. That in itself is admission to guilt. Okay, in many cases. So the art of the apology is a very important thing in a digital world. Whether you are a personal brand or a company brand, practice it. Practice it sensibly. Try it. It works. So in summary, the principles are the same, whether you're in a physical world or in a digital world. But the digital world comes with a new set of jargon called moment marketing. We called it topical marketing. I gave you about 15 examples of brands who had tried advertising in publicizing or associating with the Chandrayaan 3 launch. Don't let that happen to you. The way I would recommend to you is, if you are putting out any communication, you must take it seriously. There is nothing called it's cheap, it's easy, it's moment, let it fly. Don't ever do that. It is finally a testament of your thinking. Don't ever let that go down. And in digital marketing or digital world, it's ecosystems which fight ecosystems. It's not brand versus brand. It's the ecosystem. In a digital world, learn how to smartly apologize. You'll get a lot more favorable response by doing that. So that's all I have to say. I've taken exactly 15 minutes. Thank you very much, Chandrika. Thank you, Nexbrands. All the best.